Hello, I'm Marlis Arnold, trade show marketing consultant and author of the book, Build a Better Trade Show Image. Welcome to the Trade Show Insights podcast with news, tips, and tools to expand your knowledge of exhibiting. For today's episode, it's all about the attendees. We'll talk about attendance trends and stats. What do attendees want? Give you some warnings of attendees to watch out for, and some tips for when you're the attendee at a trade show. EXPO Magazine recently reported results of the Exhibit Survey's Attendee Benchmarks study for 2005, and it's mostly good news. Traffic density on show floors increased from 2.2 to 2.3. Now, this may not sound like a huge increase, but what it means is that the number of attendees per 100 square feet is up. So take this times the entire show floor, and you'll see a great attendance increase. Second, only 39% of attendees were there at the show last year. So you're seeing lots of new faces, although they're not necessarily first-timers, according to the survey. And regarding individual exhibits, 86% of a booth's visitors have had no contact with that company in the past 12 months. 81% are interested in the products and services displayed in that booth. So all of this is good news. The one downside discovered through this survey is that attendees spent less time on the show floor overall, only 7.8 hours, which is a 5-year low. But this doesn't have to be a bad thing. It just means that exhibitors have to work harder to get the attention of the attendees during that time. Another positive aspect revealed in the survey, attendees are going to more shows. So if you're exhibiting at multiple shows, your odds of getting on that person's radar has increased. So what do attendees want? Numerous surveys have been conducted to answer this question, and the results always have similarities regardless of the industry surveyed. They want private appointments. They want to meet with and talk to company executives. They want to see new products, learn from the educational sessions offered, have an entertaining experience overall, and they want you to follow up. Now, let's look at each of these needs in a little more detail. Private appointments. An Attend Trend survey 2005 showed that 37% of shows are now offering some kind of client-exhibitor matchmaking services. So this obviously is a trend that's going to increase. Meeting with company executives. Make sure you have them in the booth, or at least during certain times, and make those times public so that people know when they need to stop by or can make appointments. See new products. Attendees always want the ability to sample or have you demonstrate the product for them. Use good merchandising techniques, and if the show offers a new product showcase, take advantage of it. Educational sessions. See if you can get someone from your company on the speaker slate for that particular conference. But remember, this is not a 90-minute commercial. This is an educational session that just happens to be presented by someone from your company. So make sure that you don't cross that line. Have an entertaining experience. Well, those of you who are familiar with my book and my workshops know that I'm all about experiential exhibiting and getting the attendees involved. So I won't beat this to death. But you want to make sure you've got a good image, that you presented yourself well, that your staff is well-trained and well-mannered, and that you're interacting with your attendees. And finally, follow-up. Again, I can't say it often enough. If you're not following up, you've just missed the boat on the whole exhibiting experience. And actually, some of the attendees may be keeping a list of promises that you make to them. In fact, in the show notes, you'll find one of the links takes you to an article where an attendee tells you how he keeps track of the promises made at trade shows. And here are a few more tips on how to relate better to attendees' needs. Pre-show promotions are essential. You have to get on their must-see list. You have to have a great image and presentation on the show floor. Doesn't matter what size your booth is. Always view from the attendee's perspective. Even small booths can be intriguing and sometimes even more so. So remember, you have to have a clear identity and create good traffic flow in your booth. And finally, make them feel welcome. Ask questions, then listen. Now, here are some attendees to watch out for when you're working a booth. You've got solicitors or job seekers, which are just there for their own personal gain. In fact, the solicitors can be kicked out of the show, oftentimes by the show organizer if you alert them to what's going on. You've got giveaway grabbers, which are guilty of what I call the scoop and run syndrome. They're just there to gather up all the freebies and don't really want to talk to anybody. You've got corporate snoops. So watch out what you say. You never know who's there shopping for the competition. You've got party crashers. If you're hosting a hospitality event, watch out for these guys. They come just for the free food, and they're not there to learn more about your business at all. So if it's a private hospitality event, be very careful in who the invite list includes. And finally, leeches. You've got to know how to disengage from these folks, or otherwise they're just there to gain a new friend and they'll talk to you all day long. And now some tips for when you're on the other side and you're the one attending the trade show and walking the aisles. First of all, you've got to have a game plan. Before I go to a show, I study all the pre-show materials I've gotten, especially if it's like a huge show at the Javits Center or McCormick Place. You've got to map it out, literally. So I go through the exhibitor list ahead of time. I circle all the exhibits that I know I want to see, or ones that I've gotten pre-show mailers for, and I will circle those booths and then literally go through the show floor map and mark where those booths are on the floor plan. So that way I can kind of time it out. Oh, I don't have much of anything to see in the aisle 600, so I can skip that to begin with and just hit this section and this section. And then I kind of go back as I have time later in the show, and I'll go back through some of those aisles that I missed and see if there's anything else that I missed. But essentially, that's why as an exhibitor, you've got to be on their must-see list, because you don't want to leave it to chance. Next, you want to keep a balance between schmoozing with your current suppliers and looking for new ones. Set appointments whenever possible, and take advantage of hospitality events. Not like the party crashers we talked about earlier, but just go and meet and mingle and get a chance to talk to some of the exhibitors on a little bit different type of turf than you would on the show floor. For more tips on how to research a possible show for exhibiting when you're walking the floor, check Chapter 2 in my book, Build a Better Trade Show Image. And be sure to check out the show notes at imagespecialist.com/tradeshowinsights for links to additional information on all the things we talked about today. And I welcome feedback from listeners, so please feel free to email me if you have any thoughts, suggestions, or comments. Well, that's it for this edition of Trade Show Insights. I'm Marlis Arnold, Image Specialist. Thanks for listening.